Hello, my friends. Good afternoon. It's 2 o'clock on October the 5th, Monday morning, the beginning of a new week, and the beginning of a new season. How are you today? How was your weekend? How did you fare over the events of the weekend? And how are you doing today? It's 2 o'clock. You're far enough into the day today to, we sort of take stock. Good day, bad day, maybe a little of both. How are you? So, I try to put on my, my diviner's cap and in looking into myself and how I am today, and inviting you in that journey, maybe you'll find yourself too, being able to answer the questions you might answer if you were sitting here. So, I'm very aware today of the turning of the seasons. I don't know, I always have in my mind, sometimes on these pastor chats, when I really am honest with you and with me, I want to talk about my preoccupation with this pandemic virus. But early on, back in March and April, I know that there was a lot of frustration, people saying, I want to talk about something else. I want to talk about something else. But, so here's my honesty to you, just as a pastor, to say, if I were to go and sit down with my pastor, and I do have a couple of people who are my pastors, I have a group of 7 clergy that I make a commitment to talk with for about 2 hours every 2 weeks. And just full disclosure, when I go in and talk, and it's my turn to talk and answer the question, how am I doing? I talk about this pandemic. I talk about this virus. I don't want to talk about the virus. I don't want the virus to be here. I don't want to have to reorganize my life. I don't want to have to do all the things that we're doing. But I don't have any choice about whether I live with it and pay attention to the consequences of it. So if I were to sit down here in this chair today, I would talk about the spread of this virus and the implications for me for fall. I started to believe that in August and in July, the air was fresh, didn't rain much, everybody was outside. I took my mask off more. I was relaxing into the idea that as the steps were being taken to reopen the economy, that, okay, phew, wow, glad we got over that. I was just in the pause, I was trying to think. I have 1, 2, 3. I have 5 people in my circle now who are affected, who are infected with the virus. And except for a couple of very close calls, I realize I'm still living my life sheltered enough away from the general flow of my life that I do not have direct contact with any of those people. But it just reminds me of back in April. I just kept watching like a march The news of who had it, who got it, who was suffering from it was moving closer and closer. And of course, that culminated in my mother getting it and dying from it. It was like the march of soldiers over the hill. And I feel the same drumbeat coming now. I'm not afraid. I'm aware. I'm aware. And progress is being made. I was a pastor, full blown out in the community, ministering in visitation and everything during the AIDS crisis. And one of the things that we kept trying to say to people about sexual promiscuity, like try to rein it in. You're going to have to be very, very, very careful about who you have sex with. And one of the ways that we all try to be a part of a better community message was to say, to get AIDS is a death sentence. There was absolutely no known cure or even anything to reduce its ability to kill you. And in the congregation I was serving, we had 15 funerals a month for people who were dying of this disease. And so, some of that is coming back to me. We don't have a protection against this virus. We don't. You can get tested all you want to, but all testing is going to do is to tell you if you have it or not. You can wear a mask, and it is effective, and I am wearing a mask more and more now. I'm aware that even in some of the circles that I travel in, as like 1 or 2 degrees of separation, I'm finding out that the virus has made an inroad. So I'm starting to wear my mask all the time. I'm going to wear it here in this church sanctuary because we have a church administrator. Because unless you're lucky in the draw, and you just happen to be one of the fortunate ones that don't have like really big consequences to the virus, it's deadly. It's a deadly virus. I just asked myself a question in my head. Maybe it's the question that my pastor would ask me. I'd say, well, where does your faith come into this? What difference does faith make? That you do have, and I do. I have this abiding sense. It's in me. It's not a choice. It's just something that is in me. I believe God is there. I believe God is walking with me and with you. I believe it. I can't not believe it. I can't. I'm hardwired for it. Everything in life points to it for me. On vacation this summer, we were fortunate enough, we tried to get a very remote cabin, and we did, on a lake in a remote area of Maine, and it was beautiful, and it was already social isolation, but it was for a different reason. It was to absorb the beauty of nature and to immerse ourselves in it, and we saw all kinds of wildlife. And one of the great gifts was that our cabin was only just, a ways across the lake. There was an island in the middle of our particular section, and on that island, the top of a very tall pine tree, there was a family of eagles, bald eagles. There was a male and a female, and there was a yearling. It wasn't this year's hatchling, it was last year's hatchling, and he was brown. He was brown and almost like a fawn gets a speckled brown and white. This didn't look like an eagle. It was camouflaged. But what a joy to watch and to participate. Every day we would go out to go fishing, but we were in no hurry. And we would go by and we would look up find the eagles and where are they sitting, and we'd sit and we'd watch for them to fish and marvel at how do they find their fish. And the nest that was their home, it was like the ancient city of Rome, because it was clear that the original nest had been built in the tree years and years ago, and that every year each returning generation had built on the nest, so that from the holdings of the tree, from its bottom, to the top of the nest, it was probably 12 feet deep. And if you were a nest archaeologist, I suppose you could slice it down the middle and you could see year after year of this family's life. And I marveled. I don't know, not everybody sees it this way, but I marvel at the knowingness of the creatures. That these eagles migrate. They migrate south, and then they come back, and they come back to the same nest, and they come back, and they live their life. And then as we were there, really into the middle of September, they were getting ready to leave. How do they know where to go? How do they know where to come back to? How do they know? How does all of nature seem to know? How does it know? And I don't know, when I was a child growing up, we were taught to mock the idea that, you should not personify animals. They have instincts, the word instinct, right? They're not thinking, they're not, it was an unfortunate way of explaining nature, because yes, they have instinct, we have instincts, but we still have these thoughts and these things that move us, and things that we understand sometimes, but sometimes we just know it's time to go. It's time to go. And then time to come back. I lived for a while, for a lot of my life, I lived along the Delaware River. And birders will tell you that birds of prey, they fly south in a fairly straight line, and they use the shoreline of the United States. They use that to make the most direct route south. It's a navigational route to come up along the shore if they're coming back for the summer. But when they get to the low spot in the Appalachian Mountains, which is the Delaware Water Gap, they actually turn inland and come up the Delaware River. They fly up the river, and they fly through the Delaware Water Gap and then spread out to the parts of northeastern United States to where they're headed. It's like a highway in their mind, in their heart. And I talk about these things because that's kind of how my faith in God is. It's an ingrained map. It's an ingrained knowing. It's an ingrained sense that God is here, God is with us. And it doesn't mean somehow that, we will be protected, and no eagle thinks that this year's children won't be at risk. They do, but there's a knowingness. There's a knowingness of confidence, which I call faith. It's a trust in life. Bad things will happen, that you can be sure of. People that you love will die. Car accidents and in diseases and the things that we know. I'm not in my faith, at least I hope. I'm not naive. I don't want to be naive. Naive is a not knowing. Naive is not faith. Faith is a knowing that then leads you to trust for what you don't know. And so this coming fall, with all that's at stake, the financial stability of my own life, the financial stability of my church, of the school, of the family networks that are going to be affected, and then today I heard the governor of New York had shut down, I think, 7 zip codes. And I think to myself, here we go again. I have all the faith in the world that at some point we will come out of this. They will write about this in the history books, and they'll talk about the losses that happened along the way. They'll talk about the impact that this pandemic has on our way of life, on our elections, and on our government, and on our schools, and the learning and the not learning. And it'll be there, and we will survive. I ran into someone in the grocery store yesterday, and we were standing there 6 feet apart with masks on, and we were answering, the pastor's question, which is, "How are you?" And she wanted to bear witness to her faith. She said, "We'll get through this." And I wanted to bear witness to my faith too. And I said, "Yes, I believe that. We will get through that." And then I said, maybe it will upset you, but it's just, I'm not naive. We will get through this, but I hope we includes me and you. Because that's not a guarantee. I am full of faith today, but it's a knowingness in my faith. I am doubly committed to doing everything I can, to encouraging you to protect yourself in what we do know. What we do know, there are some basic things you can do to ward off this virus getting an inroad into your body. And I don't even need to go over them. You know what they are. I hope they'll do it. I'm going to do it. So I don't know if you're how I am today. So if I ask you, "How are you today?" and thoughts about this pandemic are so far from where you're at, then I guess today you just would listen like a good friend would listen to me. I doubt if that's true for many people. Teachers and their families. I know 2 teachers. They're not in my family, but 2 teachers who got the virus, and now their children have the virus. It's here. It's never left. It's here. It's going to make its presence known. It's going to alter our lives as much as it possibly can. And it's going to require us to have a knowingness, to have a navigational knowingness inside of us, to know what we need to do. Like those eagles who somehow know what to do when the winter comes. They fly south because that's where the food is. The lake that we were on freezes. It freezes so hard that they drive trucks and they put buildings on it and core drill holes down and fish through the ice. There'd be no chance at all for that family to survive in that environment. So they do what's necessary. They do what's required. They know what's required. I pray that we will do what's required more than anything else. And that God will give us a sense of internal self-protection for guidance. And don't let us get confused with things like, a naive comfort with the way things are, or some assumption about what can't happen. Help us, God. Help us to listen to the voices inside of us and to really hear them, because they beckon from you for how we can get through this and how we can do what's necessary to to be part of the we that says we will get through this. I don't want to lose any more people to COVID. I don't. And I don't really want to get sick. So if you were sitting in this chair today, that would mean somehow you were part of the circle of my love and care as a pastor. And I would be saying to you what I would want you to say to me. Be well. Take care of yourself. Guard yourself. Defend yourself, because the night is coming. The winter is coming, and we'll be inside buildings a lot, and this virus will come after us. If you get it, I hope that you have a mild case of it. And if you get it and you don't have a mild case of it, I'm going to pray for you all the way through. Pray for me. Pray that I will remain healthy. I know you already are. I know you are. And for our wonderful families in this school, all those children. Pray, 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 pray. Dear God, you are the shepherd of the sheep, we are the sheep. Lead us, guide us to green pastures, to where the water is pure. Help us to see and to follow the instinct inside of us, to hear your voice and to follow where you lead. Through the valley of the shadow of death, we fear no evil, but you are at our side, and that's the reason. In your holy name we pray. Amen. Okay, my friends, that's a heavy-duty beginning to a Monday. I hope you have a good afternoon, and I will talk to you tomorrow. God bless you.